If you can't accept that you're going to be sad, angry, emotional, confused, lost in life, you're going to really struggle to even embrace and understand yourself or keep going forward. So just take everything as it is, keep learning about yourself, keep exploring. And I think as long as you do that with authenticity, you have no problem. But what gets in the way of that is when you have to start being somebody you're not, and you have to start, fitting standards, because now life is even harder because you have to be something you're not. So now you're putting even more effort to keep up with that, which, by the way, the trends keep changing, right? And so that's the thing, like, people don't realize, like, not being who you are is, I think, more exhausting. Just learning who you are and becoming the most efficient you, and also giving back, right? I think why my life is so fulfilling despite all of the challenges and the struggles is that I give so much, and I'm genuinely most happy when I give. It's not when my business has hit a goal and we've like every collection launch for my clothing, I promise you, like, I'll kill myself with these designs for months, and just launching isn't even the satisfaction. It's seeing people wearing it, seeing them happy. Like, for me, it's how do I impact people? What am I doing? Because when you hit your financial goals, when you get the car you want, the house, whatever, you're going to realize that is not it.
Yeah, you're going to be left with,
you're going to realize
what's now.
And so this is something that, the most successful people have shared. It always comes down to human connection and giving. And that's very hard to accept or understand when you're feeling so insufficient in your own life. And that comes from self-value, like working on yourself.
Well, you say that, but you didn't give me the hat that you were supposed to give me. So I don't know how much of that I want to believe, to be honest.
It's coming back.
Welcome to another episode of Jibber with Jabber. Today I have with me Heba Ali, aka Hybrid Heba. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
How are you?
I'm doing well.
You good? Welcome back to Dubai, man.
Thank you so much.
I think you're spending enough time here that you might as well move out to Dubai.
Yeah, I know. I'm considering part-time.
Really?
Yeah.
How long is part-time?
Like, basically the New York winters,
Okay.
which is your winters, which are amazing, like spring, summer weather. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, I kind of feel weird because, like I said to you on the phone earlier, it's like 7 weeks is a long time to be in a country without going, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
But then I understand that you kind of forgot all about who I was.
No,
I told you, shots fired from the beginning. All right, dude. Let's get into this whole thing because I know what you're gonna say. Partly because you already said it to me, and partly because there's so much more to you than the fitness, right? But initially, when you first started out, you were doing some crazy things, dude.
Yeah, I had a crazy, and still do have a crazy mindset, but it's tamed, it's conditioned, it's crafted. And I think in the beginning, especially as you're developing yourself at a younger age, you have so much emotion, you have so much unknowns in your life. You don't really know how to emotionally deal with things. And so at least I used my emotions to become crazy, and the sense of achieving anything I set my mind to. And so it started with fitness because, the psychology of human behavior is if you can't do something, you want to do it. And that's why we always want what we can't have. And for me, being raised in a conservative family and having 2 older brothers, it was just, sports was not a thing. Like, going into sports, after school activities, it wasn't a thing. And so I didn't get into sports, like, legitimately until I was like late sophomore year, but I remember junior year. So I was a terrible runner, and I don't know how at a young age, I just chose to do something that made me feel like shit. Like, I knew I was the worst runner, and I just think that spilled off into everything. And I'm a huge believer of, like, exploring that unknown, facing your fears, because you literally don't know what's on the other side or who it's going to push you to be. And so, going from the worst runner to competing at nationals level and just proving that to myself and building my character, I just learned the power of mind.
So
and
what?
Yeah.
Karen.
No, I'm just saying I learned the power of mind. There were so many lessons, but that was it. And I was just like, this is going to be my life purpose, to, instill hope, to educate, to provide the resources, and to just show humans, like, and teach them about their mind and their potential. It's limitless.
But where was the scenario where, because look, we all know Instagram, and we all know, and this is not generalizing or anything before I start getting all these hate comments, the typical Instagram influencer fitness girl, a lot of it is
Yeah.
Look at me, how nice I look in my bikini, and I'm on the beach and blah, blah, blah. Where did you decide, no, I want to throw things around and I want to smash tires and I want to, do you know what I mean?
So if you're new to Evolve Nation, my fitness business and Instagram and movement, you're not going to see much of it recently. But like when it started 6-7 years ago, I was that woman throwing tires and pushing trucks and doing the most. And I think that stemmed off of the fact that I was fighting against the standards that I felt like exist for all women, especially for me coming from the Middle East, of having certain labels and titles. And, you know, at a young age, a lot of the things that happen to you influence your adult life. And for me, when I look back and reflect and try to make sense of who I am, I realized that when I was in high school, I was constantly told I was pretty. I mean, I was bullied, middle school.
Yeah, but
high
that's, you know
school.
how it is. People bully people because they fancy them. That's just how us
No,
guys
no,
know
I gotta
how to
tell
deal
you,
with
I gotta
it.
tell you.
Which is like, I hate you, and then they
No.
go home and there's like a shrine of you with 18 pictures on the wall.
I gotta tell you, see, when thick eyebrows wasn't a thing,
Yeah.
I was like the unibrow girl.
Welcome to the Arab
Well,
world.
yes,
We
yes.
had one with hair everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like I was picked for a lot of silly things, but anyway, so moving past that and going into high school, I didn't even know what pretty was. You know, I never looked at myself through this light. And so when all I was complimented for was my looks, it made me feel less of. You know, I felt invisible, that, you know, my intelligence, my skills, my creativity, like none of that was ever complimented. And so I think that pushed me to not be what everyone just saw, which was so superficial. It was a pretty girl. And, you know, I've also heard so many times, like, why don't you just marry a rich man? Like, you're gonna be set in life. And I was like, wow, like that's my life.
There, yeah.
That's the life I'm living for. And so it's not why I pursued so much, but it's, I believe, one of the things in my early teenage years that really pushed me to be like the leader, the woman, the authentic self that I am. And so, I actually, when I opened up Evolve Nation Instagram, my tagline was, I don't sell bullshit tees or butt programs. And the reason why was because as a developing athlete, someone who was wanting to take it serious and compete, like I was a tomboy, like I loved training with the guys. It wasn't about looking pretty and taking supplements. And so I knew that there was plenty of women that could do that. But I was like, there's not enough women that are tough with women, that are giving them the real resources, that aren't telling them like, hey, your beauty comes from how you look. Because I felt so empowered. The things that I can do, the size that I was, for me, right?
Yeah,
and so
you're strong for your size. The things that you were doing are very strong.
Yeah, and so it's just like, women have to know that you don't have to do what I'm doing, but I'm showing you that you could do whatever you set your mind to. And, you know, it doesn't matter what shape, size, or even age. Like, your power comes from within. And the minute you let other people, like, drift their opinions into your belief system, it's like you've limited your cap of growth, and you've also, like, stopped yourself from even being who you are. Because you're so scared. You're so scared of not meeting everyone's expectations.
Dude, I totally get that, because being pretty, I usually get people just not looking past the surface. You know what? Having that conversation just made me think of a song. We should have sang Whitney Houston, I'm Every Woman. And that's how we should have started the episode.
Maybe next time I'll
Right.
practice my vocals.
Right. No, yeah, I totally understand that. But because you're a twin, right? You and
Yeah.
your sister, and you both do the same thing. Did you both start at the same time, or was it was it like something you both did? Because one thing I noticed with my twins is that they always have someone with them. There's always, like, whatever they're doing, they have someone that can push them, or a bit of competition, or that kind of thing between them.
Oh yeah, so we did almost everything together.
Yeah.
Like as we were like growing up together in high school, like two peas in a pod.
Do you do the fitness thing? So you kind of like...
No, we drifted apart. I think when I opened up my business, like I actually started traveling very young. I opened my business when I was 17 and a half, 18.
So how long Evolve's been out?
Like almost a decade now.
Wow.
So, I mean, I've been over a decade. I've been working really hard independently. And I think it's because as I've realized that my purpose and passion is solely reliant on my creativity. When you go into the business world, I was exposed to so much, and I see why the industry is the way that it is. Because if you bring in too many people inside of your ship, and they're
It's
not
gonna
on the,
sink, yeah.
yeah, it's gonna sink, or it's gonna go into a direction that it's not supposed to go. So I have no problem taking the harder route. I have no problem traveling and learning and building it to what I believe it is, and it's going to continue to be. And so, yeah, I ended up like starting traveling when I was no, 18 actually. I was doing seminars within the US, and then I started going overseas. I think Egypt was the first country that I started teaching seminars in, and then I just kept going.
Wow. Do you think that it's a problem in our world, in the Arab world and in the Middle East, that there's a very kind of like standard of how a woman should be and how a man should be? And do you think that's the problem that's stopping a lot of women from kind of achieving their goals, or even knowing that they have goals they didn't even know, because they've been kind of like, I mean, same with boys. I mean, none of our parents ever want us. My mom did not want me to be a podcaster when I was a baby. I know that for a fact. It was engineer, doctor, lawyer.
Yeah.
So do you feel like we're kind of cramping our evolution, should I say?
Yeah, I do believe so. I think not only the Arabic culture, but there's other cultures as well that, you know, they set expectations on their children to, you know, I mean, that's a loaded question, so I'm going to answer it in many ways. In one way, I feel like when you ingrain in a kid in a young age, teenagers, I mean, before 21, prefrontal cortex not fully developed, that, you know, you should be X, Y, or Z. If they aren't X, Y, and Z, then they feel like a failure, or they feel insufficient. So if you don't have a strong mindset, a strong purpose, a strong why to push you, chances are you're not going to keep going. And I encountered those challenges myself, like being a woman in the fitness field, being a trainer. That was not a career choice my mom ever like wanted, right? And I think since then, like, it's evolved so much, like the training field and career for women, but it was very challenging. And traveling was another huge concern as well, because of safety, because of many Islamic reasons as well. And so for me, I'd never, you know, fought. I mean, there were arguments and stuff, but it was never to be disrespectful, right? You can't put a fire out with fire. And so for me, I was like, okay, so I just have to build trust. I have to show that I'm emotionally mature. I have to show that I am capable of doing what I'm setting my mind to. So at the end of the day, you know, the way human behavior is, your words aren't going to translate. It's always your actions. So I had to prove that trust to my family. I had to show them the responsibility and the leadership. So I think if we all are trying to push towards a direction, and we need the support and cooperation, is you have to be patient. Like, I also understood that my mom is not modern. Of course, she's
from
not.
a different world.
Yeah, like, and I understood that, and I had to be patient for years until she came around, and I got the emotional support and the love and the acknowledgement of a lot of the success I've reached. But during those years, it was hard, right? Because everything I do is for my family. Everything I do is to support and have them be proud of me, and for many people, right? And so if you can keep that resilience and you can constructively keep working towards it without, you know, ruining the relationships in your life, you can definitely win.
I think it's a difficult balance as well, because on one side, they want what's best for you. And obviously, being a doctor or being an engineer and that is going to be good financially for you. But I think coming from the older world, they just see things very kind of like flat. Make money, you'll be happy, kind of thing. They don't see the stress. I mean, even like you said, it's not just our culture in India and stuff like that. You know, you have a lot of depression from these kids that are in university doing something they just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But I think also that we're entering an era where it's like positive psychology is now encouraged. And I think parents are opening up to the fact that what's best for their kids is what's genuinely fulfilling and satisfies their self-development. And I really think we're moving in this direction. I don't know how much it is in the Middle East, but I definitely see that, you know, people are becoming more conscious of what they're doing with their life, what's meaningful, what's driven based off their intrinsic motives. And so I think there has been some progress, and the best way to keep going about it is to communicate, right? I think that when you don't ask questions, when you don't open the door to conversate with your parents or your kids, that's where the damage could be done. You know, that's where you don't know what thoughts, assumptions they may be going through.
I think it's also a lot easier for people like us that have been raised abroad as well, because our parents have kind of assimilated, in a sense, to the surroundings, and they can see all the different options that might not be the same back home. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, for sure, because when I'm coming from New Jersey, telling my mom that I'm going to go to Egypt to teach a seminar, and I thought Egypt was like desert and sand and camels. Like, I didn't even know how developed it was, right? And I think that's the part of explore the unknown that I really push out. You know, adventure is not about traveling, getting on a plane, going to a mountain. It's just about the oh my God, I can't even talk. Curiosity of seeing what's out there, like what you would enjoy. I never thought Egypt was what it was. I never thought I would even enjoy surfing. I never thought I could be a good runner. I never thought I was gonna like developmental biology or psychology. You know, all of these, like, you have a curiosity and you take that awareness and thought and you engage and you explore it, right? So exploring the unknown is just not a place. It's a thought. It's an idea. And so I'm really big on exploring yourself, right? And that's how you learn about yourself and you keep growing and living abundantly, because there's just
so much.
Endless amount of opportunities.
No, I highly agree with you. The one thing that I really want to instill into my children when they get old enough is travel, dude. Like I backpacked around the world for 2 years. I didn't wear shoes on, like nothing on my feet. I was barefoot for 2 years, just with a backpack going around the world. What I saw, what I learned, the different relationships I built. Like I literally got back to London and then put a pair of trainers on. I was like, what are these foot prisons that I'm putting on? Broadening the horizons. Like you're just a different person. Even when you go to a place that's strange, you're kind of free to kind of be who you want, start fresh. Nobody knows me here. No one knows who I am or what I do. You're just kind of like, okay, I'm here now. I'm going to be this person and live my best life out here. And that's why people, psychologically, I think that's why people look forward to being on holiday. Because here they're in a routine. They've got their work. They've got all that stuff. They go on holiday and they're like, I can be whatever I want for 2 weeks. Or I can be whoever I want for 2 weeks. Nobody knows me here. I
mean, there's so many things I want to say about what you just said. And I was also going to ask you a question that I'm going to circle back to. But I mean, that's why, you know, environment is very important. You're shaped by your environment. Environment will be intention any day. You could say you want to change. You could say you want a better job, healthy relationship. You could really mean it too. Like there's a lot of things people mean, but they can't do it because their environment is either not helping them break away from those habits that you've developed in how many years, right? That's why the diets always cap out.
They always were.
Right? Who are your friends? Like, what is your environment allowing you to do or not do?
If it's not serving you, then it's not.
And that's why you made a really good point about, like, when you go on vacation, you know nobody. I mean, the idea of acting a certain way to impress or get validation lowers. And so now you can kick back and relax. And
especially backpacking as well, because what I noticed is that you don't owe anyone anything either. So you meet people. So when I went, I decided to stay in hostels because I wanted to be with other travelers who were also on the same thing. And it's a case of, you can meet friends, but at any time you can be like, sorry guys, I'm going to Peru tomorrow, so that's it, done. You can choose whether never to see them again, or if they're kind of going on to the next country, you can be like, no, you guys are cool, let's move on to the next country together and hang out and kind of thing. And it's really freeing being able to just,
you want to hear something cool? You could do that in your real life too.
I do that in my real life as well. I choose not to have many friends, but other than that,
but I think that's something a lot of people struggle with. You know, because psychologically, one of the universal needs for us is sense of belonging. And so if your sense of belonging wasn't tied within yourself or your value, and it was within your friends, and hanging out with them on the weekends was securing that for you, it's very hard to just remove it. And so, like, I've always advised people is if you're trying to create a new environment for yourself, don't self-isolate. Like being in solitude is very good, but it doesn't work for everyone. It works for me.
It works for me
totally. I'm very harsh
I'm
with myself, but some people, that's not the method for them. It's not a one size fits all. So I always say, you know, try to either create a constructive habit, something that you can do where you're not feeling lonely, and something boosting your self-productivity or value, or perhaps even engaging in a different activity or event that exposes you to new people. Right? So a lot of people say, I don't have good people in my life.
Well, if you can stay in the same place and do the same thing,
then you're going to get the same thing. So
that's what Einstein did, right? Doing the same thing a million times and trying to get a different outcome is ridiculous. It's
the wrong formula. So I always encourage people, like, change. It's super uncomfortable, but if you can embrace that discomfort, nothing is in your way.
And even the whole super uncomfortable thing, it's not uncomfortable for very long. That's the beautiful thing about it. You know, sometimes when people go, they're like, I don't want to go there. I really can't be asked to go out tonight or to go to that situation or that thing. They go there and they meet someone, and that could be their best friend for the next 10 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just that one decision to be like, okay, no, you know what? I don't usually go, but I'm going to go play volleyball today.
Yeah.
You know, with these 20 people that I don't know.
Yeah.
Some of the best friendships are made like that.
Yeah. The spontaneous
Yeah.
moments. Yeah, I agree with you.
It's crazy.
What's one lesson that you've learned from travel, like the best lesson, or maybe if you want to briefly like give 3 things that you've learned from traveling?
Look, one thing that I learned, that as much as we're all different, we're all exactly the same. You know, you can go anywhere in the world, we all smile, we all want to laugh, we all want to be happy. We're, you know, very rarely did I ever have someone not welcome me into their home. I mean, hardly ever. There was people who, I remember I stayed in some person's house because the hostel was closed. And then the woman was like, oh, stay and blah, blah, blah. And I was helping her cook and helping her thing. He's like, this is my daughter, you can marry her. I was like, no, I'm all right. I'm only here for a week. Do you know what I mean? But people are very hospitable, much more than you would think.
Yeah.
And did you see that guy who basically, I think he went to 100 countries or something like that on £1. And he literally just went. He'd be like, he'd put up a thing and he'd be like, okay, I'm landing in Germany today. Is there anyone that wants to take me out for a meal? Maybe let me stay on their couch. And he went from one country to another. And he literally, people were buying him his tickets. People were, do you know what I mean? And he went all around the world. And it was amazing because...
Did he vlog this?
I think he did.
That's amazing.
I think he did.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Another thing I learned is, I'm pretty weird in a sense where some people will say this is not a good thing, but I really don't care about anything. Like, I'm not self-conscious at all. So I can be in any situation and just be content, or I can go and just speak to a random person and I'll just be like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I found that very easy to just go anywhere in the world and just be happy where I was. People always say, where's the best country you've ever been to? I can never answer that question because every place has its charm that is different to the other.
That's a question I get a lot as
well. Everywhere has their thing.
Yeah.
And another thing I learned is don't be scared to be alone.
Yeah.
Because, again, the same thing that you were talking about. I went all the way around the world for 2 years and I came back and every one of my friends were practically wearing the same clothes I left them in. Nothing changed. I had all of this experience that I had just because one day I decided, I'm going.
Yeah.
That's it, I'm done.
Sometimes it's just that one single thought.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that decision.
And nothing changed.
Yeah.
People are scared that they're going to miss out on so much. You're not going to miss anything. FOMO.
Yeah.
You're not going to miss anything.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, you could disappear for a year and come back and everyone's doing exactly the same thing that you left them doing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Let's talk about exploring the unknown, because that's your tagline.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
Exploring the unknown, it's exploring your mind, your thoughts, your whole being. You know, it started off as fitness, like that stepping stone for me to build my character, discover, like, am I who I really say I am? Because I saw myself as a leader, as a reliable person, very determined. Work ethic was a big thing for me no matter what since I was younger. You know, my first job was 13 years old. And
wow, doing what?
I worked at a pizzeria. I lied about my age. And so I took my job very serious. So that's one thing I know about myself, is I took everything serious. Like, I had to do my best. And at the age of 15, I was promoted to the manager, and I was flipping pizzas and working at now 2 pizzerias while in sports. So for me, I think it's exploring yourself, going on adventures. And again, like I mentioned, an adventure is not getting on a plane. You know, sometimes an adventure could be motherhood, could be a new career. It could be, you know, having street food. Like, for me, that's an adventure. For a local, that's another day.
Dude, it could be literally cutting your hair short from long hair.
Yeah, so for me, it's a long life journey of just full abundance and passion and joy. And it's, of course, all the positive emotions come with the accompanying, not negative, but darker emotions. But I think when you can strip yourself, like, be completely, like, humane. Humility is so important in the human life experience. If you can accept that you're going to be sad, angry, emotional, confused, lost in life, you're going to really struggle to even embrace and understand yourself or keep going forward. So just take everything as it is, keep learning about yourself, keep exploring. And I think as long as you do that with authenticity, you have no problem. But what gets in the way of that is when you have to start being somebody you're not, and you have to start, fitting standards, because now life is even harder because you have to be something you're not. So now you're putting even more effort to keep up with that, which, by the way, the trends keep changing, right? And so that's the thing, like, people don't realize, like, not being who you are is, I think, more exhausting. Just learning who you are and becoming the most efficient you, and also giving back, right? I think why my life is so fulfilling despite all of the challenges and the struggles is that I give so much, and I'm genuinely most happy when I give. It's not when my business has hit a goal and we've like every collection launch for my clothing, I promise you, like, I'll kill myself with these designs for months, and just launching isn't even the satisfaction. It's seeing people wearing it, seeing them happy. Like, for me, it's how do I impact people? What am I doing? Because when you hit your financial goals, when you get the car you want, the house, whatever, you're going to realize that is not it.
Yeah, you're going to be left with,
you're going to realize
what's now.
And so this is something that, the most successful people have shared. It always comes down to human connection and giving. And that's very hard to accept or understand when you're feeling so insufficient in your own life. And that comes from self-value, like working on yourself.
Well, you say that, but you didn't give me the hat that you were supposed to give me, so I don't know how much of that I want to believe, to be honest.
It's coming back. It's coming. You're gonna have a whole EVLV.
I'm gonna wear it on the next episode.
And the shirt.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
And the socks.
See, giving, guys, giving. That's the way it is.
Giving is receiving.
No, for sure. But I think it's really a cliche statement that I'm gonna say, but people don't realize that the balance is needed. You need light and dark. You need to know, you need to be unhappy to realize what happiness is. They all fit together in this balance of yin yang and all that kind of stuff that without them, you're not really living the human experience.
No, you're not. And it's not that you need them, it's that you have them.
And no one, by the way, no one is born and dies without going through them. Even if you were born into a rich family, down to the, I don't want to get morbid now, but down to the really basics. If you have everything in life and whatever, your parents are going to die. You might have an uncle that passes away. A friend of yours might get sick. You might get sick. Even down to that cellular level, no one's going to experience the perfect life. And they need to realize that.
No, absolutely. And I think that here's the thing also about humans. Very self-centered, right? And that comes from our survival instincts. And so when something bad happens, it's all hell loose. Like, we forget that this is the human experience. We forget that, hey, Jackie next door, Tom next door, everybody's dealing with their cup of, like, whatever you want to call it. And so trying to fight those emotions is the wrong thing to do. And that's why, like, that vulnerability aspect of vulnerability is your strength, is because you're owning up, like, you're accepting the experiences, you're accepting the emotions, you're learning from the emotions, right? So, like, rather than fighting the anger, ask yourself, why am I angry? When you're upset, instead of saying, why am I crying, why am I depressed, what's wrong with my life, sit down and ask yourself, what triggered me?
And what's the solution as well?
Like, what triggered me? Sometimes solutions cool, but let's do something constructive. Have a dialogue with yourself. And I think we've become so dependent on one another to figure out what's wrong with us as we stop looking from within. And I think that has a lot to do also with how you're raised, because in my family, you didn't talk about your feelings. I didn't have, I've had these friends in school, well, not really friends, but I would see them just have such open conversations with their parents. And I'm like, whoa, you just told your parents that? Yeah, we're so open with each other.
Yeah, I was like, no, my mom's Lebanese.
And, like, listen,
nope, it's not happening.
If you're watching from the Middle East, damn well you did everything, right? And so I'm very grateful that I was able to be vulnerable and open, especially with my brothers, because I love my brothers to death, and I've respected them. I have the most respect for them because they were my father figures. And so I think it took our relationship to the next level when I started opening up, but that also came with respecting their rules and boundaries. And I think nowadays teenagers or young adults or whatever, they don't like rules. And I think for me, I also rebelled against rules, but I stopped looking at them at rules, and I was like, those are boundaries. Those are boundaries, and they're set in place for a reason. And so I can at least respect your boundaries. My world isn't going to end.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I think that helped me have that open dialect with my parents and my brothers. And I think that's a huge component, is being able to communicate. And that has a lot to do with how you're raised. Also, it's a self-development skill, right? You can strengthen your own communication skills. You don't have to wait for someone else to do that.
I think two things. One thing, that I was having a conversation with my friend the other day, and I was like, one thing you need to realize, dude, nobody cares. Your ego makes you think that people cares. Very, very small, you can not even count them on your fingers, on the creases on your hand. How many people are actually invested in your life and your feelings and whatever? Like, your ego makes you think, oh my God, if somebody finds out this or that, they will think about it for the second they find out. 2 seconds later, they got their own worries. They'll never think about it ever again. You are not in anyone's mind. Nobody cares about you. Life's so busy and difficult, and everyone's going through their own stuff that they don't have time to think about you. Only those who really love you and, you know, are invested in you or who live with you will actually take time. And even them, sometimes they want to break from your issues and stuff, and they want to deal with their own. That's one thing. And then the other thing, she was saying to me, it's bad because you're always happy and you're always trying to make people laugh, and you always have this, you know, free, happy-go-lucky thing about life. You must be stressed out, and you must wake up with days where you don't feel like, you know, being the clown or being happy. And I was like, listen, very young, I realized this second, right now, as we're talking, somebody is being told they got 3 days to live. Right now, somebody is burying their child. My worst case scenario. There is, in every second of your life, there's some shit happening somewhere else that you wouldn't wish on your enemy. So what do you know what I mean? It's
I definitely think that people forget that being alive is something to celebrate, for sure. And, you know, even the resilient are like this, right? And I believe that the human experience is a very complex one, and you're never going to have the picture perfect, because you're going to continuously evolve with it. What you cared about from 20 to 25 is going to shift from 25 to 30, from 30 to 35, and so on. And so I believe our role here is just to continuously develop ourselves, make the human experience better for ourselves and everyone else, and leave behind some goodness, some impact. And it's simple, right? It's simple if you can keep your focus there. But then if you don't, and you get lost in the mess of everything else, then it's really, really complicated.
And a lot of people do get lost in it. That's the issue.
Even strong people get lost in it, right? And that's okay. I think there is no all or nothing mindset, and that's what I've learned in my sports years. Is I've achieved a lot with the all or nothing. I've killed myself. I did crazy things. But I've learned that that's not the only way. It works for some people. It works for some certain age, but you exert a lot of energy. And if you're the type of person that gets discouraged easily, then one bump along the road can push you completely off. So, I mean, it's okay. It's not that serious, like you said.
It's just not. And I think generally what you said, the point that you said is, it sums up life perfectly. Giving love and giving back to the earth and the world in your life is the most thing that can make you successful. You know, one of my favorite quotes is, a society grows great when old men plant seeds in which shade they will never sit in. You know,
I love that one.
That just sums it all up.
I'm
planting this seed not for me, because I'm never going to see this tree, but my son's son will sit down under the shade, and, you know, something that I'm doing for the world. It's not for me. And I think that's how we need to kind of all be with that kind of stuff.
And I think that the only way we can be like that is to see more examples, because we as humans learn through observation. Like your children are learning through even as an adult, 30, 40, 50, you're learning through observation. The problem with that is, like, you're learning just from your digital device, and you don't even know this is all subconsciously registered. So for me, it's like there was a quote that was very similar to yours that was like, some people will walk in the dark so others can see the light. And I related so much to that, right? Because I had a huge phase in my life where I just couldn't understand the amount of suffering I would put myself to reach extreme goals that actually did nothing for me. like besides fulfilling the fact of helping people.
Mm.
And I don't even get you. I'm like, why do I care so much? You know, those thoughts came to me like, what, where is this? How do I know if I'm doing a good job? Like, how do I know when enough is, I've done enough? And so I've realized that some people genuinely have to go through the darkness to continuously be the light for other people. And sometimes that's the purpose of your life. Sometimes that's your destiny. And that's your goodness. Maybe you didn't leave something physically, but you were able to touch so many lives. And I think that if you feel lost and you feel like you're able to help people, then maybe your life purpose is serving for that.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're
I think
products of that.
I think it makes suffering easier when you know it's being utilized for the greater good.
Yeah. We are literally products of that. I mean, a lot of children of immigrants and second generation, a lot of our parents left where they were to go to another place, to start off with jobs they didn't want to do, to raise us in a different place, in a better life. And a lot of people don't realize what their parents went through in the beginning, just so we could be like, no, I'm going out to the cinema at this time. I'll be back when I want to be back. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes you have to sit back and go.
Yeah, parents are so incredible.
Yeah.
Honestly, especially mothers. Especially mothers.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
The dads are amazing too. Every time I highlight moms, I get the dads saying, "What about dads?" No, you guys are amazing
dude,
as well.
I think everyone is amazing, dude. I think anyone that raises, like for me, that's how I value my success. It's not money. It's not this. It's being a loving father, being a father who can teach their children and give them, like for me, it's not about this is right, this is wrong. It's about here are the tools. I'd rather teach you. I don't want to show you that's the engine. Sorry, that's the spanner. I want to show you the engine and what the spanner does and why that's needed to make this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What you do with the tools is your own journey. You learn your own right from wrongs, but I want to give you the tools.
Yeah.
And you know, for me, that is what is successful. It's not money and this. And a lot of people do you think that people base their success on the wrong things or unachievable things, or they value things we've been conditioned to value stuff like money and cars and houses as, okay, I'm successful? Because I know so many rich people that aren't happy at all.
I mean, I could share a personal answer and then a more of a general. I think generally, if we're all being honest and we're aware of our thoughts, our desires, right? Because the human experience is pulled by desires, pleasure, pain. You're either running from something, you're running towards something. Like, you have to understand your desires. And that takes honesty, takes awareness. And so I think most people, whether they know it or not, are being pulled by the societal pressures, what they're seeing on a daily. And if you're on social media, chances are you're swiping, how come I'm not on a beach right now? Why am I here working? Like, these are subconscious thoughts that, like, maybe you don't even care about the beach, but now you've got this comparative of, now I don't have enough, right? And so now you start to see someone with a smile next to a car. They're so happy. Your brain is super smart but super dumb. See somebody with a big smile with a car, it's like, maybe I need a nicer car. Maybe my friends will think I'm cooler. Or maybe I'll start to feel better in myself. I'll tell you something, when you get a nice car, it will last about 3 days.
Even if that.
Yeah, that you care. I'm telling you.
And then it's like, oh, and the funny thing is, you never see the outside of the car ever. You're always inside it, so it doesn't matter what it looks like outside.
Yeah, but it's like,
everything we have is like that.
If they really understood the power of thought, you would consider everything you're doing, not for your other people, but because of the long-term effects it has. And you know, if you are trying to lose weight, understand why you're losing weight. Like, don't ever make it about other people. If it's for vacation, cool, but like, put something else in your mind and say, I just want to feel better in my clothes, because that will be registered for a very long time.
And that will be there,
Yeah, and to break a habit and to even try to trace it back and remember. And even with breakups, right? A lot of the rebounds, the redemption, like, what are your coping mechanisms to pain? Is it always about being better just to prove something to another person? Because when you stop caring about that person, what's pushing you to be better?
A lot of breakups as well as ego as well.
Yeah.
You know, I've known people who have broken up and then wanted the person back when they started to like someone else, but they were the one that broke it up. So it was just an ego thing. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't even the case of that. It's just silly. What you were saying earlier, it's like, people don't realize that when you put something into your mind's eye, how things change. Like, for example, say you wanted a green Range Rover. You never see them anywhere. The second you drive out the showroom with that green Range Rover, I guarantee you all you're going to see is green Range Rovers.
Yeah.
Because now it's in your zone. It's in your, do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
there. So you've
Yeah.
noticed it. You made it something that's a part of you. And now you're seeing it and you're like, oh man, I thought I was the only one with the green Range Rover.
Yeah.
Then it just loses value again. It's because you never noticed them before because you weren't thinking about green Range Rovers.
Yeah.
But everything's always there.
Yeah. And I think just also outside of having that become at the forefront of your focus, it becomes a part of your identity almost too. And I think this is more so for men than women, right? I think men are more pressured to have the higher paying job, the car, the house. They're the like supposed to be the providers. Like they have to have it all figured out. So I feel like as much societal pressures women deal with, I feel men equally deal with as well.
Men deal with it a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think that being a woman is any harder than a man. I just think that we each have our own challenges. And I think that, you know, we can learn from one another. Like I've learned a lot from my brothers. I've learned a lot of my alphaness comes from observing them as well. Like my brothers were super tough with me, and at times I didn't like it. I learned what it meant to set boundaries, have people, siblings or friends respect you. Like my brother was respected by the entire school and his friends. I didn't understand it. Like if I mentioned his name, oh, that's your brother. Like me and my sisters literally felt like we had security guards across the entire like high school because like they knew that was my brother. And so I admired that, you know, when you're young. And also I'm going to say this to parents is know what your children are consuming. I mean, it's hard to monitor it, but talk to them about who their idols are, who inspires them. Because for me, it was never the woman with the 8-pack on the magazine. It wasn't the girls in underwear working out on the beach. Like that was so unattractive to me. It was quite embarrassing.
You were like, Ronnie Coleman.
No, it was quite embarrassing to me because of the way I was raised. Like I could
yeah.
never like, and I'm not saying that it's bad, but I'm just showing that for me, it was always about character. My biggest idol was my mom, my brother, and my brother had this respect value that I was like, oh, I want that. It wasn't attention. It was just, I wanted the respect. And so I think moving your attention away from all of the superficial things negative minds go to with the cars and the materialistic things and everything, you'll live a much simpler life. Like that's what travel taught me. Do you know how many years it took me to learn how to pack light? Because I thought I needed more and more and more and more.
Dude, exactly that. When my friend traveled before, right? Before I started my travel. So he said, let me help you pack your stuff. And I was like, what do you mean? I know what I'm taking. And he goes, all right, pack your bag, then take 3/4 out of it and throw it to the side. That's all you're going to need. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I remember like a week into it, I was just walking around going, I packed way too much stuff. Like I don't need any of this.
Yeah. And usually that's what we do. And it's like a hoarding.
It's kind of like that in your mind as well.
Yeah.
People overpack their mind and then they end up having so much going on in there that they don't have the time to stop and reflect on what's really important to them.
Yeah. And I call that dead weight.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just your friends. It's the past things that you're not letting go. It's the situations that either your ego or yourself has not acknowledged nor let go. Grudges, anything that has gone sour in your life. If you choose to not forgive it or let it go, that is affecting you. And that's one thing that I feel like many people really haven't grasped yet. Like forgiveness is for you. It is not about the other person. It's not about you saying that it was okay what happened to you. It's literally saying that I'm above this. And I'm ready to move on from this.
I'm not going to let this
I'm
have
not
any
gonna let this
space in my mind.
define me, right? That was actually one of my collection names, Undefined, because during that time I was inspired to create a collection that spoke to not just authenticity, but not being labeled. I mean, I'm so glad we didn't start this podcast or interview with, what do you do, right? And a lot of times when I am introduced, it's like Heba Ali, the personal trainer, psychology background, entrepreneur, and it's as although they all do identify, can we take out the titles?
Instead of what do you do, who are you?
Yeah, right. And I mean, it's an uncomfortable question. Some people, if you ask them who are you, they'll probably like freeze. Yeah, because they probably don't ask themselves. I am him
who you call he.
But for me, I was inspired to like break titles and also have people also break the titles that they set for themselves, right?
Do you think that men and women need to stop competing with each other? I remember we were speaking about that. Do you think that there's a competition thing going on there?
I wouldn't say that men and women are directly competing with one another. I'm on a very middle ground stance. right? I'm not into the heavy feminist political stuff that's going on. I'm not even on the other spectrum. I'm just always in the middle that loves to look at both sides and evaluate strengths and weaknesses. And I think that on some level, you could say that women weren't treated the same and all of that. But you know what? I don't like to waste time talking about what's not fair. Of course, raising questions will bring answers and solutions. But what I like to talk about is the known facts, right? When you're focusing on women weaknesses, let's talk about men's weaknesses that are your strengths. Let's talk about how men can learn from women, right? Like there's this phrase of why can't women be more like men? Well, why can't men be more like women? Actually, men are actually modified women if we're speaking on the biological level. And so
in the beginning, we're all women.
Yeah, until that Y chromosome, boom.
Boom, and I'm like, hey, no. Yeah.
But for me, I've always looked at it that way. Never liked to ever feel like a victim in my own life, regardless of the circumstances. Listen, like my goal is to evolve and move on. And so regardless of the circumstance, I can control the narrative in my head. I control the reality. I'm not going to wait for society to change their mind or for more more corporations or businesses to change their models. I'm going to create the opportunity for myself, right? And that comes from the confidence, the resilience of, if it doesn't exist, I'll map it, and that's my blueprint. I'm going to create it. And that's exactly what I did with Evolve Nation. Honestly, there's no secret recipe. I was different. We're all different by default. The more different you can be and authentic to yourself, the easier it's going to be to create something that's unique. Because that's what most people want. They want to be noticed. Well, you're not going to be noticed when you're copying what everyone's doing. And so, you know, just being able to have that confidence to figure it out when you don't have the resources is real confidence, right? You don't have confidence if you have the money, the team, the investors.
I only made this business because my dad gave me $10 million.
You know, like,
you know how hard it was for me?
Yeah, and so it's listen, if you are the underdog, if you are struggling really hard, I don't need to go into my past stories, but just know that it is going to work in your favor if you don't give up. If you show up every single day, you do something that day to teach you something, to move forward, there's progress in every single day. And it doesn't have to show up financially. It doesn't have to show up with people walking into your life. Because actually, what I've learned too is if you aren't cautious with who comes in, it could be dead weight, it could be a distraction, it could deteriorate you from your actual vision. And so just trust your path and realize that it's never going to end. If you're really on this journey of entrepreneurship, creating impact, being an innovator and creative, it's never ending for you. Never. So just enjoy the ride. I'm actually still learning that myself, and I catch myself, right, with growing my awareness through meditation, which I never thought was effective, but it really has been. It's taught me the power of being able to control those emotions when I start to get anxious, or I feel like this isn't working fast enough, or this deadline I missed, or I'm like, wait, chill out. Like, this is your story. This is your life.
And it doesn't have to happen at anyone else's pace or whatever,
Like, you're narrating. And I think sometimes we can have that conversation, like have conversations with yourself. And it's so important to call yourself by your name. Like, I don't say, hey, why are you doing that? I'm like, Heba, what's up? Like, what's going on?
I don't understand what you're saying. I'm my favorite actor in the best movie ever made.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's sick. I think the one thing that struck me about you, there's a lot of Instagram influencers that are spending their whole life selling other people's products and making money for other people under the guise of sponsorship and brand ambassador and stuff. Don't get me wrong, I was in the fitness world for a long time. I'd go to the Dubai Muscle Show. I'd have a giant picture of me there just like flexing. I swear to God, like a 12-foot picture sponsored by all these brands and all that. And then I just decided one day, look, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't even drink the protein that I'm making stories about. Literally, I don't do it. But I was like, this is the best protein in the world, and this aminos and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
What struck me was you were like, nah, I'm going to sell my stuff.
It wasn't even about just selling my stuff, right? Because
but creating...
and it
creating
wasn't even
a movement.
But you're right. It was the movement, but it was also about not doing the wrong thing. I had a lot of ethics and still do in everything that I do that stems off my integrity, right? I know my core values that cannot be shifted. I've had business deals and proposals and contracts that I would have dreamed of when I was younger, all turned down. And to be honest with you, I won't even say it was a hard decision, because when you know yourself, you can't be bought out. Like, I got on Instagram because I didn't like any of that. And so I've been, I did support supplement companies and other brands that I genuinely was involved in. But when I was disinvolved and I found a better way, I had no problem disassociating. Like, I wasn't hung on to, it was never about a paycheck for me. It was about a value, something that I can provide or share with my community. But outside of sponsorships, if it wasn't, until this day, no matter what, Evolve Nation is not a business for me. Like, I can say these are my businesses. That's the formal way. These aren't my businesses. These are my purposes. Like, this is, you think I'm going to spend my whole life killing myself like this for money? There's not enough money for the amount of work that I'm putting in. And that's how I see it. Like, my reward has far more value than piece of paper. And so I guess that's why I never went in that direction. It just, I wasn't good with authority either in high school. I didn't like doing something that wasn't the best way I saw. Like, I was always challenging something ordinary and saying, well, I think we could do that a little better. Like, I was that kid. Yeah. I was like, well, how do you know that's the best way? Well, what if we did this? So I was always that person. And I think that being able to not be afraid of, first of all, not valuing millions of dollars or certain amount of money, or being able to do that will then take you to the next step of being able to create more meaning in your life. And so that's my goal, is to create meaning. I'm not looking for a financial goal, and it's pretty simple for me. Like, that's what it's always going to be. And I think when you know that, your journey will always be true.
Yeah, totally. How do you feel about social media and the negative effects it has on people's mindsets? And
oh, I love this one.
Yeah, because I've got a lot to say about this, but it's your show today, so I wanna.
Okay, social media and negative effects on mental health. Well, let me take this back to when COVID hit, which I can't believe was 2 years ago.
I still don't believe it happened.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist.
So I think that COVID was good in many ways, because it kind of took out everything that was brewing up in people that they were either distracting themselves from or not. And to other people, it made them worse. A lot of people started drinking more and just gaining weight, and everyone had their way of coping with themselves. Social media usage through the roof, insane. And during this time, I actually left New York. I told myself, like, airports were closing. I was like, one-way ticket, Thailand, I'm out. Like, and I was, I was a little afraid, but I was like, no, I'm gonna.
I gotta get out of Dodge before this happens. Yeah.
I wanted a life-changing experience, and that was the unknown for me. I wanted to live in tents, learn about myself, all of that stuff. And so I didn't want the digital stuff. And what I've noticed is people creating a habit. What is a habit? It's just a behavior that's been repeated over and over again. It's been exercised a lot. And so when you're constantly iPhone, okay, I feel like I'm connected with the world. Okay, I feel better. Dopamine, serotonin, boom. I feel good. Okay. Your body memorizes that at the hour too, right? So it's not a surprise when people are trying to go to sleep and they grab their phone really quick because they have this urge. What is that urge? It's your body sending signals to your mind that it's missing something.
But I need my hit.
Yeah, and so it's made people anxious. It's made people more distracted. The comparative concept between not even just men and women, just being able to compare your life to someone else that you don't know about. You don't know if they share the same value. You have no clue what's on the other side of that phone.
It's probably not even happening in their life either.
And so it's created false realities, and just all in all, it's contributed to depression, stress, and poor stress management. And for me, I think that I'm pointing out all the negatives. Social media can be very beneficial. It can help so many people. There's abundant resources. I personally like social media. I'm just saying, use it safely, like gauge.
How many people are though? That's the problem.
I think when they're educated, it's easy to make change, right? So for example, for me, when it came to eating well, I started to eat better more micronutrients when I started to learn what they did for my body.
Mhm.
And one way I did that was, like, I would be curious. I'm like, goji berries, I wonder what that does to your body. So I would look it up. I'm like, wow, goji berries are good for eyesight, this and that. So now I, like, my mind programmed goji berries reward, like, better eyesight, skin, antioxidant, more than blueberries, but, like, higher in sugar. So I start, every time you learn something new, neural pathways just expand. You
Mhm.
become, you're changing your brain. And so the more rewards you can add to a changed behavior, the easier it is going to be to make that changed behavior. So if you don't want to, have a poor relationship or habits developed from social media, just start educating yourself with the not only cons, but the pros of doing other things, right? I started doing less of social media, but if you don't fill up your time, you're going to waste it.
Mm.
I'm a firm believer of that. If you don't fill up your time, you're
Yeah,
going
but
to
it's
waste it.
very important because our body and our minds, pardon me, what people don't realize is everything you see through your eyes, it's food. Like, it goes in
Wait, say that again.
everything you see from your eyes is food for your thoughts, for your soul, for your whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't eat with my food. I don't just get a plate and stuff like that. No, but like, people don't understand the power of what they're consuming visually, and how much it completely changes even like the vibrations of their body, of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't know how to stop this, and they don't know how to do it right. An example, there was a time when I was just scrolling on Instagram way too much, and I literally said out loud, I was like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? It's been 3 hours.
TikTok?
So what I thought, no, this was before that. This was Instagram.
Oh my gosh.
I don't go on
TikTok's
TikTok at all. So what I did, I was like, let me just go into the settings and see what happens. I started unfollowing so many people till I literally had about maybe 60 people on there. So what would then happen is I would scroll. 3 minutes later, it would come up a sign at the bottom. It would say, you have reached the end.
Mm-hmm.
Then Instagram started realizing this kind of stuff. So they developed a thing now that even if you reach the end of your people, they're just going to throw random people in there.
No, they say similar or related.
Yeah,
posts.
or whatever. But
Yeah.
there was a thing before that said, you're kind of done for the day, mate. Go do something else.
Yeah.
Now, you can scroll for if you got a robot and just made it do that for the whole day,
Yeah.
it would never finish, ever, 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 ever.
Yeah.
So even if people are conscious about things, they have people and teams working 24 hours. How do we revert them back?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the dangerous thing. They have teams of people trying to figure out how to get you even if you want to stop.
Yeah.
And that's the worrying thing.
I think it's worrying, but like, you have to have this sassy attitude with yourself, this confidence, this unbreakableness. Even if you don't think you're strong, like, put on that front. Like, I wasn't the best team player. I wasn't the strongest. I was like 130 pounds of
raw muscle.
No, I was just starting, right? But
Yeah.
you have to visualize, the power of visualizing who you are. You know, I would put in my head when I was running 10 miles that I was competing in the Olympics.
Sorry, you just said running 10 miles. I hate running. I do not understand that for the life of me.
I hated running too,
I
but
can't
I did it
I
until
can't
I
run,
loved
dude.
it.
I can't. I can sprint the shit out of a sprint.
Yeah.
And I'll do 1,000 sprints.
Yeah.
But my issue is I'm very introspective. So whenever I'm alone by myself and nothing's going on, I start asking some mad questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I start to think of some random subjects. So when I'm running, like, I'll be running and 3 minutes in, I'll be like, no, I really need to know if the chicken or the egg came first. And then I'll start thinking about some dumb shit in my head that I just can't. I can't be alone with my
Yeah.
thoughts while moving.
Yeah.
I can very much sit down and
But
go,
I think that's the beauty.
I'm going to think for a bit.
I think that's the beauty, though, right?
Yeah, but it's a long way. 10 miles with my brain by myself, talking to myself is a long time. I don't want to be with myself for that long. Not for 10 miles.
No, I understand. But I think you can gauge where your thoughts go, right? And so that whole
No,
concept.
I have no gauge, dude. I have no gauge.
know you
Right
mentioned
now,
that.
you were talking about that, and I was thinking, I wonder how long those fish have been in there. Just random odd things that just came in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it. But you know what? It's for me, whatever act that you enjoy doing, and for you, you have a unique mindset, right?
Yeah, it's
and,
definitely not
and
runner's
you
mindset.
embrace it, and that's
Yeah.
the good thing. You're embracing who you are, and that's important, right? Like, running is not for you. Cool. Nobody has to be a great runner. And when I
But
go,
I can meditate, though. I
Yeah.
can sit there and be like, all right, for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to think about and I'll get Avatar. I'll be like the last airbender. I'll start, all the elements will start going. I'll be like, there's fire, there's earth, there's water. Yeah,
there's
and I'll be
air.
like, I'm Aang. Do you know what I mean? My favorite character ever in any cartoon, by the way.
Yeah.
Tell me you've seen The Last Airbender, but the cartoon, not the movie.
You want to hear a fun fact?
You've got an Aang tattoo on your head. No?
No, I have no
Okay,
tattoos.
neither do I.
I actually didn't own a TV until this past December. No TV in my house.
But you have a phone, a laptop.
I don't watch.
You have to watch The Last
So
Airbender. It is the most spiritual cartoon you will ever watch in your life, and it's bloody amazing.
Yeah, I'll consider.
No. You got to. If you take anything from this podcast,
Okay.
watch it. It's
Okay.
amazing.
Next time I'll provide the rating. Okay.
Do it.
I'll do it.
No, do it.
I'm gonna do it.
No, do it. Do it.
I'm
Do it.
mental note right now. Mental note.
Do it. One thing I want to ask you, and I ask this to a lot of people. Do you feel like these days people need so much more help than 10 years ago, 15 years ago? Like, I feel like now everyone's like, oh, I'm a guru, and I need to be like, I need help from this, and I need to go to a Tony Robbins thing, and then I need to go and do this, and I need to go and do that. And it's just like, so many people seek outside help instead of just figuring it out by themselves. I feel like we've lost that kind of, you do realize you can figure this out yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't always need somebody who's gonna, because I feel like whenever you look out and whenever you have these people who's like, oh, I need to go and see Anne today because she's gonna, you know, help me figure out why I have this issue,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be because I was this in my past life or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many different things that once you have that kind of thing, you stop being able to rely on your own self and your own spirit to figure this stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to always go to that person, and then that just stops you from figuring stuff out because you don't trust yourself to work through it.
Yeah.
You're so scared to sit down and face your own demons and work it out
Mm-hmm.
that you will never lose any of these things, and you'll never get past them because you keep thinking, oh, that trigger's there, I need to go and see that person.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's an issue? Or
I think it's circumstantial. It depends on the person, and each person knows how selfless they are or how independent they can be. Because you know what, at the end of the day, you do need to reach out for help for certain things, right? Like, I always say, if you don't ask questions, you never get answers. And I love to ask a lot of questions because that means I continuously learn. So on one end, I never discourage people from going out and getting help. If you can't help yourself, you really can't. I'm not going to tell you to not go ask for help because you never know who is going to flip a switch in your head. And it's happened to a lot of people where they've gone to an event or something and it's flipped a switch, and that was the changing moment. For some people, this works. Do I think that, generally speaking, should all people or the masses be like that? No, because the most amount of power you can ever feel is the change you create intrinsically. And it is facing your demons. It is being able to be self-sufficient. And that comes from confidence. Like, to the underdogs, to the people who have no resources, who see other people who are naturally gifted or their families is loaded, and so they can go have extra practices and tutoring sessions, and that's why they're smart and I'm not. You're setting yourself up because they might have the easy run now, but when life gets hard for them and they're adults, who do you think is going to have better coping mechanisms and adaptation skills? Who? The kid who was pampered and walked into every step. Mommy and daddy got them everything. What did they have to work for? Nothing, right? So now as adults, when mommy and daddy are not there anymore guiding you step by step, or maybe they are, and I wouldn't suggest that either, because you're going to have a family that you have to learn how to support and be there for. So I always like to mention that if it's rough for you right now, no matter how rough, that's actually exciting. Be happy. You're about to be tough as hell. In a few years, if you keep going, you will be something else.
Yeah, you'll be a different animal, man.
You'll be insane. And so be self-sufficient, be independent. You don't need to have all the answers right now, but I think that if you can just walk with confidence, even on your lowest days, just keep going, you can become that. And you're going to win in the long run too.
Yeah, I totally believe in that. I'm not into this whole pampering and look, I grew up in London. and I had a lot of friends. So I had a really weird upbringing where my
What
parents...
defines weird?
No, I'll tell you what's weird. So my parents were very, very wealthy, and then lost all their money like that.
Hmm.
My dad passed away. My mum was like, what now?
How old were you?
Moved to UK. I was 3.
Wow.
Yeah. He died of a heart attack. Younger than I am now. Like I was looking at the clock. I was literally, when I was like 36, I was like, oh, made it. Like I'm alright. I'm good. It was like the same age.
Wow.
So I was mixed with going to a private school, but then living in a council estate area. So my friends were all mixed. One day I was in the streets with all my friends that were just like street kids, but then I'd go to a friend's house after school and it was really posh, upper class kind of thing. So I had to kind of adapt to any situation.
Yeah.
You take my friends that were really rich and put them, they had no social skills. You put them in a room where they didn't know anyone. You could see they were awkward. They were nervous. They didn't know quite how to deal with things because they're used to their own clique. You get those kids from the streets and put them anywhere in the world, within 10 minutes, they'd have control of the room. So sometimes being that diamond in the rough is such a benefit to you that it helps you to adapt to any kind of situation. And that kind of raw upbringing where you do have that kind of, I need to kind of do me and figure it out myself.
Yeah.
A lot of these kids, you put them anywhere in the world and they'll be able to blend in.
Yeah.
Where
You
it
know
doesn't work
what?
the other way.
You know what? High stress makes diamonds is one of my favorite quotes as well. But I think a lot of people are waiting or they're looking for the change that they want to see within themselves. And that's very difficult because we're all very unique. We're very different. So if you don't see it, create it for yourself. Like I became my own example of life, literally. So I didn't need to see my mom achieve what I wanted. Obviously, she wasn't going to create the future I envisioned for myself. But I was just like, you know, single mom raising 6 kids, 3 jobs, smiling every single day. Shit. She's, you know what she's got? She's got faith. Because she definitely doesn't have the joy, and she's covering up a lot, but something's pushing her. It must be faith and love, right? And so I was like, if I can work on these two, just make sure that what I'm doing is serving me and other people, I'm pushed with love. If I can keep my faith in myself and the higher power, I'm good. Like this is all I need. And you know, I think when people can have that and also love themselves so much, and nobody's ever going to give you the love you can give yourself. Literally nobody. Like you may feel like
at least no longer than 3 months.
I mean, I think parents definitely, but that conversation of love yourself is so far more than like, oh, eat well, work out, and you know, work on your career. Loving yourself is so much deeper than that. And when you can tap into that, you become like a magnet of healthy relationships and positivity, because you're not dying for your cup to get filled, right? So many people are walking around empty, just waiting for people to fill them up. And so it doesn't work that way, right? That's why a lot of relationships fail, because there's an already exchange theory of I'm already expecting that you're going to make me feel a certain way. And if you're not, then shoo, you know? And no, that's for you to do.
Yeah, definitely. When you're confident and you have self-belief, you emanate something that a lot of people don't. You step into a room and people are like, there's an aura, there's an energy about that person that is different. Here's a question. Do you find it difficult to be in relationships? Let me phrase the question. Because of you being an entrepreneur, somebody who was in the fitness industry, somebody who was always in great shape, somebody who was always, who was doing random stuff, you know, that most guys would be like, I'm not squatting that. That kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Because you were very confident. I can imagine someone in the gym going, like, seeing you walk past and go, hello, and then you putting that on the squat rack and going, nope, I'm not talking to her.
I'm gonna like share some facts, right? Because I went through a lot of phases. Let's start off with like being intimidating, right? I can come off very intimidating, but I've done a very good job with not being intimidating. And I didn't do that just for other people. I did that because I like to make people feel comfortable around me, and it's my responsibility to fix my face. And so I've learned to like smile more and just be more approachable, because when I'm in the zone, my zone.
Are you talking about training or life?
Whether I'm working, whether I'm working out, I have a zone where I put certain things in my head to either get me to excel or focus. And people don't know what those thoughts are. They don't even know where. I'm not even in 2022. You don't even know where I'm at right now.
I'm in a spaceship right now
with
Evolve Nation on the side.
Yeah. You don't know where I am
flying,
mentally.
throwing bands and hats out the window.
So a lot of times, like, of course my face isn't going to show like I go through a lot of darkness to push myself through the amount of struggle. I use my dark emotions very well to push myself. So yeah, I was
Sound
not
like a witch. I use my dark emotions very well.
No, I mean, for example, like when I would compete, I had traumatic experiences like disappointments, losses. I had a very close friend who passed away. Like I take myself to very dark times where like I can bring that emotion to life and let it out constructively. And so that's just one example, but that's what I mean. No magic.
You said that's fuel for my magic.
But so I think that I definitely was more intimidating when I was doing the Ironman training, when I was on Stone Cold Steve Austin. Have you ever seen that TV show? I was on there.
What, wait, 316 had his own show?
What do you mean?
Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Yeah.
He had his own show?
Where have you been living?
Dude, you didn't have a TV. I don't watch TV, so...
No, this was like a couple of years back, but it's the most intense combat TV show. Like people are wrestling in mud and carrying heavy stones, and I wrestled like a woman twice my size.
You're just like, yeah, it's Wednesday for me. It's fine, no problem.
It was epic. It was insane. But anyway, like I did a lot of this very aggressive stuff. So it was intimidating. I don't think that had to do with the overall relationship, because relationships are you can't pinpoint one thing, because you also don't ever know exactly how the other person feels. I believe it's a matter of communicating with the other person and knowing if they are right and compatible with your lifestyle and vice versa. And I think timing is very important. So timing is my biggest thing, because I can't ask for something that I can't give. And my time is very limited, like very limited. And a lot of times people can misread that as you don't care. And you know what? I've even come to the realization that, you know what? You're right, actually. It's not my top priority.
It's not that I don't care, but when I'm putting that to the value of this is so much more important, and it,
and so
aids me more.
It's not that it even aided me more, because to be quite honest with you, like who doesn't want to be in a relationship and in love, and isn't that what we're all here for? But my form of love is different, and what I'm doing with myself and my self-development, it's very important, and it's pulling me. And aside from that, I can't be a selfish person that expects another person to just kind of get what they get, right? I'm just as serious as I take my work and everything I do. I like to bring that quality into everything. So I want a quality relationship. I want to be the person that I know I can be for my significant other. I want to give you my attention, because that's the most valuable thing for me in a relationship, is attention and time. And if I can't give you those two things, I'm not happy with myself. Forget about how you feel. I'm not happy. And so I think being very honest about it and very realistic has made me realize that it's not a bad nor a good thing. It's just not the right time. I'm literally building.
I'm building an empire.
Yeah, I'm building in it. And right now I'm really immersed in my movement and helping as much as I can with the time that I have, because, that's where I'm at mentally right now.
Yeah, I totally get it, because I was saying to you the other day, I was like, listen, what day are we training? And you were like, look, okay, time is so tight right now. And I was like, dude, I just want to train, dude. Let's just get over, just give me a day and we'll train. And he was like, you see, I need to check this and check that. I'm like,
so do you want to hear, okay, so that's the surface. I want people to start evaluating their answers like this. You'll learn a lot about yourself. We're training on
Saturday, by the way, but go on.
Saturday? Yeah. You're committing me.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah.
All right, so there's a surface answer, and there's the root answer, like the root cause. So whenever
she's saying the root cause is I'm not spending any more time with you other than this show. How bloody rude. You're like, the answer was on the surface, you see, look, I'm quite busy while I'm here. The root was, I'm not training again.
No, here's the truth.
Yeah.
I'm always super committed to my work. Like I fill up every single hour. I think the reason why I don't commit is because I love to be a woman of my word. And so I never say yes unless I'm certain it's a yes. And so my easy way is saying, hey, let me just figure out my work schedule so that I don't commit and then have to go against my word, because that's one of the things I hate to do. Like, my word is my everything. Like, I keep it with myself and with others, because that's a form of respect for me. It's how I respect myself and
the other person.
Yeah, like that's why even today I was like, hey, do you mind if I confirm late afternoon? And so for me, it's just valuing your time.
Moral of the story: we're training Sunday, right?
Saturday or Sunday? You changed
Sunday. Right. See, I can't really commit, because let me tell you why. On the surface.
Oh God. See the way the way my bank account is
set up. I got to kind of make a phone call and then you've got to transfer some money. What was I going to ask you? Yeah. Now, this is something that I went through until I was like, nah, never again. Being in great shape, which you are, pressure to stay like that. And I'll go into it. So I was a fitness model. I would do that. I would be 6% body fat all year round. Obviously, because that's what I was doing. The brands needed me to be like that, etc.
That's disturbing. I'm sorry, that's disturbing, and that's literally what disgustes me about the health and wellness.
See, this is what I wanted to talk about.
It's really disgusting, but go ahead.
You made me lose my train of thought.
No, so they needed you to be at 6% body fat.
They didn't. Yeah, but I didn't see that as pressure, because I really enjoyed doing that. Do you know what I mean? I was happy doing that. I wanted to train. And I know you're going to say, yeah, no, I train for me and I don't train for how I look at other people. But you do look a certain way. Do you feel pressure to have to stay 100 all the time?
No.
Because of what you're doing?
Absolutely not.
No?
No, absolutely not. I think at one point, I can tell you where that image identity, and it wasn't even image, that identity kind of came into my mind. And it's when I used to do just 400 pound, like, what is it called? Farmer's carries. I don't do that anymore. And all of this, like, powerlifting 400 pounds and all of that, I started even to question myself, if I didn't lift that much or show it online to push people to push their limits, does that mean that I'm not the strong, resilient leader I want to be? And honestly, as stupid as a question, I realized that no, because your strength isn't measured by how much weight you lift. Your strength is from within, what you're capable of. Listen, if you can face your fear, that's more powerful than you lifting 300 pounds. So I took a different stance on where I wanted to go with my platform. I didn't want to just keep promoting lifting heavy, nor do I want to promote abs, because I know the truth.
That's
like,
not
I
healthy
studied psychology.
for a woman as well. That's not healthy to be that
we can go into
perfect,
that as well, because that's very important. But for me, it's like, I know the truth. And I don't know all the truth, because there's a lot I don't know. But I know enough to know that my 10-pack abs and the amount of weight I lifted, it served a benefit in my life. But you learn way more through the power of mind. And so, sorry.
Yeah, no, keep going.
I don't know if you were winking at me.
No, I was winking at you.
So now, relative to right now, does my weight bother me at all? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I could care less if I have a 10-pack shredded or if I have a 4-pack. One thing I do know about myself is I'm always in shape, because this is my home. I'm always taking care of my home. And I define what taking care of is. I'm eating well. If my body decides to put on 5 pounds of more percentage, like 5 pounds of fat, 2% percentage, I don't even know, I don't measure, then that's what my body needs. Right? As a woman, your hormones will change.
Yeah. And you'll stop getting your periods and stuff.
Yeah. And I went through that as not even, I didn't do restrictive dieting, but competing, high stress. Like, I didn't have it for a certain time. But females who are on restrictive diets, who are taking on natural supplements, it's all cool right now. But there is long-term damage to that, not just physiologically, psychologically, because you've created this identity for yourself that I really hope they can pull themselves out of, because it's not a joke. When all you've tied your self-worth to is a body accomplishment, that's very difficult, because to accompanying that is I have to eat less, I have to do 2 hours of cardio and all X, Y, and Z. And so, like, it's not worth doing all of that.
It's not. And people are just rude as well, man, because I remember, because everyone knew me as being so shredded all year round for 5-6 years. I remember the first time someone said to me, "What happened? Did you stop training?" And I was like, Dude, I still look better than you could ever look if you started training now for 10 years and took roids. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What made you think it was all right for you to say that to me? Just because I'm not I'm still 10% body fat.
Yeah.
Like, you're still 40 and I'm 10.
Yeah.
Like, why did you think it was okay to say that?
And I'll tell you why. Because humans judge automatically by observation.
Yeah.
That's the first impression you get, and it's sometimes the lasting impression. And you just gotta not take it personal, right? Because I know the growth that I'm going through, and so I don't need my looks to validate how happy or how successful I am. I know how I feel. Listen, if somebody thinks that you're depressed because you gained weight, that's their problem. If they think that you're slacking in life because you don't got a car, that's their problem. Like, don't ever let someone else make you feel like you're not in shape or you're not successful because you don't have what they perceive as success. Like, what you define as success is different from me. We're different.
So what does the future hold for you now?
A lot of great things.
All by myself.
No, I'm serious. I see the future bright. I see it full of amazing possibilities. I know there's a lot of growth. I don't set limits. You know, even people who talk about 5 to 10 year plans. I see greatness, and I know that I'm gonna keep achieving a lot of progress, creating the impact that I want in whatever channel. And so, as long as I leave that open, and that's the vision, I'll be surprised along the way.
Dude, I believe you. So, guys, I'm going to be getting my hat tomorrow. No, on Sunday when I train. Dude, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I feel like we need to do another episode before you go. Yeah. Because there's still so much more.
Maybe we should have the audience submit questions.
Yeah, we will. I'll put it up and I'll get them to do some stuff. We'll do one before you. How long are you left here for? 3 weeks now, right?
A couple more weeks.
Couple more weeks?
Yeah. She's
not going to tell me because she doesn't want it. Because on the surface, she knows the answer. But underneath.
The fact that you remembered that.
I'll never forget. Guys, I've been AJ. Heba, thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, anytime. And next time, before we do the next one, I'll send you an email. And on the surface of the email will be the...
the subject and the body of the email.
Exactly. Guys, I've been AJ. She's been Heba. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Boom.